Right, well, okay, our stock of the day, in fact, we've got a bit of resources at play today on the show as well. Our stock of the day is Boss Energy in the uranium space. Chief Executive Duncan Crabb, Chairman Wyatt Buck, Director Bryn Jones have sold a portion of their shareholdings. That has seen the shares fall more than 9% in this morning's trade. Craig filing a notice disclosing the sale of around 4 million shares, options for around $22.5 million. Several years ago, in fact, the board of directors made personal commitments not to sell any shares until its fully owned Honeymoon-owned uranium mine commenced production. Well, it did that last month. The company announcing it produced its first drum of uranium, and that has obviously been the trigger for them to sell. And but of course, we've seen that's the where the share price has gone over the past 12 months, particularly as uranium has been on something of a tear, along with other commodities at the same time. So let's get an opinion then. Luke, now I know you're not really in the uranium space, are you? But
I'm not in that, I suppose the way to put it is I think a lot of them are expensive.
Right.
And this stock's no different. It's on sort of 2 times MPV. And I just think it's a massive red flag, and obviously the market kind of agrees with me when you have insider selling in a project that's ramping up production, probably going into the highest return part of that mine, first normally. So it's really, it's not a stock we've owned. It's not something that we're particularly interested in, but certainly from my perspective, it doesn't pass the sort of initial smell test.
all right, so but that red flag you say about them selling as
expensive,
production's ramping up.
Red flag.
Yeah, it's also looking to restart its joint venture project in South Texas, the Alta Mesa project. I think it has a 30% stake in that. So, Mark, what's your view then?
No, obviously not. Well, this is a company that it's had 10 years, and they've got a 1.8 million profit or earnings rather. They've announced. I think that's what I'm showing here, which is their first ever earnings, but it's still showing zero sales. So I'm not sure how that works, but. That sort of must be above my pay grade. There's something going on there.
Yeah.
But no, this is the trouble with uranium and the whole space is, I agree with Luke. Yeah, there's an enormous amount of speculative value put into these companies where there's no real justification for it, because even if they then start producing, can they produce it profitably? I mean, there's so many things that impact these mining companies to go from being, I've got an asset or a potential asset, to actually making a profit and generating returns to shareholders. And it's on a current PE of over 100. So it's like massive amount of assumption in there. I wouldn't go anywhere near it because there's no basis there to be able to predict what they're going to do. And as Luke said, they've very quickly gone into selling shares. The management, well, that's a really bad sign as well, because what's that telling you?
Take your profits and run. Maybe. So, are there any uranium miners?
No.
Like, for instance, Paladin, which has a track record.
No, well, if you look at their performance, though, was it PDN?
PDN.
PLD.
PLD.
I think.
No, PDN.
PDN. You're right.
PDN.
Yeah.
So Paladin losing money as well. Yeah. So it's got a 4 billion market cap, and we're showing its returns being negative going forward. So we're investing with a target of 15 to 20% compound return. You've got no chance of doing that unless you really, really invest in quality companies and then buy them at a price that you can get the kind of returns.
Yep.
So all of them are, I cast a whole lot as just being purely speculative, which we don't do. So whether it's a good speculative investment or whatever, I don't know. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't.
Interesting. And so if you actually held the stock, would you sell it?
Yeah, I think on valuation grounds you can sell it. You can kind of put the red flag to one side, and you might be more familiar with management and keen on the business than I am. But I think on 2 times MPV, and you can make the same comments for Paladin and other stocks on the ASX as a general comment. When there's a resource, there's production, you're paying a lot for it. You put that in a global context of, say, other mining categories, other mining sectors, I should say. I would, nothing there that particularly interests me at the moment.
There you go. All right, both very negative on that space. It is, well, calling that a double sell then for Boss Energy. Right.